Iskwe, how are you, miss?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
I think the first thing that I think about immediately when I think of you is you really seem to have this collaborative spirit. Like you're really I was listening to the record you did with Tom Wilson.
Yep.
Mother Love. The contrast between the two of you, I think I had I try not to do this, had a preconceived notion of like what that would sound like.
Right.
And you guys found this beautiful middle between, like, how was that experience? I mean, Tom Wilson, Junk House, he's been around forever. Like, how was it?
It was so wonderful. I mean, Tom and I met actually pre-music partnership at a beer league softball game in Hamilton, Ontario.
As you do.
Yep. And we were both there supporting our loved ones because neither of us are sports bally, I don't think, or I can't speak for him, but I'm definitely not. And we really hit it off. Like, we became pals and our families were pals. And so it was a nice friendship that evolved before we started working on music together. So when that time came to build up that project, the Mother Love project, it was wonderful because I got to A, work with a friend, and be in such a collaborative, like you said, like a collaborative space, which for me was a first. I went into that record. I didn't write any of the songs on that project. That's
so interesting.
So it was the first time I got to show up and interpret the songs strictly by interpretation without having, the narrative be my story, my word coming out of my being, right?
Sure.
And so I got to just sing the songs and go off of my sentiment of how the words made me feel, but also just this moment in time with my friend and being in the studio and going off of our own energies together.
And that's so interesting because the angle, I'm sure that maybe he wrote a song from and then you would interpret
totally different.
It's so he also, I was reading about how he had recently discovered his Mohawk heritage. Mm-hmm. So he's probably like sort of dealing with like sorting that out in his mind too, to like witness that must have been an interesting wrinkle. The wrenches that he's been thrown in this lifetime are just unreal sometimes, and his story is such a grand story. And when you don't know the human on the other end, it's already just like, what is this? Like, what's going on? And then when you know the human on the other end, it hits in an additional button, right? And so being around him as he's right in the mix of all of that was a beautiful thing to be able to share with someone. I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And like watching your music videos and things too, and the stage show and that sort of the visual component of your music as well. Is that, how much of that is like, say in a music video, like all the visual that goes with that, how much of that is your art, is other people's art?
I'm hands-on with everything that I do. So when I'm writing music, I'm actually already visualizing how I want all visual content to tell the story. So I'm very, like, my background, I always joke that I became a musician because I couldn't make it as a dancer. Because my original dream, like starting from when I was 4 years old, was to be this grand ballerina, and that was like the be-all, end-all. And then, life happened, and you have to roll with the punches. And I always loved music, and I always loved singing, but it definitely was secondary. Like, the passion for it was second to dance and movement. And so being on stage was always a thing that was extremely important to me. But conceptually, what people are taking in when they're experiencing my art, I'm thinking of that, all of the senses. So what you're listening to, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. I did a residency at Stanford University a couple of Septembers ago, and one of the elements of that show was I wanted it to be extremely immersive so that the show begins the second you hand in your ticket, you exchange your ticket. Everything around you is a part of the performance, including immersive sound installation throughout the building as you're following a path to get to the auditorium. Light is guiding you with different color palettes on the floor and on the ceiling and on the walls that are guiding you through the space, things like that. So when it comes to videos and photos and the entire narrative, I'm already planning that as I'm recording the songs.
Amazing. It's just all happening at the same time.
Welcome to my brain.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the only one left, I guess, is smell. But the arena smell like stale beer, whether you want it to or not.
There it is.